بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقال الملأ من قوم فرعون أتذر موسى وقومه ليفسدوا في الأرض ويذرك وآلهتك قال سنقتل أبناءهم ونستحيي نساءهم وإنا فوقهم قاهرون صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد كلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك. Tonight, inshallah, we will begin our tafsir from verse 127 of Surah Al-A'raf, chapter 7, verse 127. The story of Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun continues. In previous verses, we learned about that event which has been repeated in several places throughout the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has narrated what took place on that day of contest or on that day of competition between Musa alayhi salam and the magicians of Fir'aun, the magicians of Pharaoh. And as we learned in our previous session of this tafsir, Fir'aun had gathered the best magicians from all over the kingdom of Egypt. And he had given them a lot of incentives to win their battle and their competition against Musa alayhi salam. So on one hand, it was Musa alayhi salam alone. His brother was not participating. Harun alayhi salam was the prophet of Allah, but Harun alayhi salam was not part of this contest at all. The contest was all between Musa alayhi salam and the magicians of Fir'aun. So on one hand, this was one man, Musa alayhi salam. And on the other side, there was an army of magicians. Imagine a small group of magicians and a large group of magicians, and then an army of well-experienced magicians from all over the kingdom of Egypt. But Musa alayhi salam, by the will of Allah, defeated all of them. Because the power of miracle is matchless. There is no match to the power of miracle, because miracle comes directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and magic is all about the sorcery of eyes, all about the bewitching of people's perception and people's vision. So it was nothing real, to say the least. But what Musa alayhi salam did on that day was all real. So Musa alayhi salam easily won that contest, easily won that battle. And once that happened, Fir'aun decided to punish these magicians, who not only turned their back on Fir'aun by making him the loser ultimately, but also pledged their allegiance and their loyalty to Musa alayhi salam by believing in the message of Musa alayhi salam. They all said, Amanna bi Rabbi Harun wa Musa. That we all believe in the Amanna bi Rabbil Alameen, Rabbi Musa wa Harun. We all surrender and submit to the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of Moses and Harun. So they all suddenly switched their pledge of allegiance from Fir'aun to the enemy of Fir'aun, which was Musa alayhi salam. And this really brought a huge shock upon Fir'aun, upon his loyalists, upon his followers, upon his advisors, and upon his entire community. So Fir'aun vowed to take revenge from these magicians, because they not only turned their back on Fir'aun, but they now became enemy of Fir'aun. So Fir'aun vowed to take revenge from them. And in his revenge he said, I will kill all of you, I will cut your legs, I will cut your hands, and I will crucify all of you. And these magicians who had recently converted to Islam and who were now the followers of Musa alayhi salam, they did not resist. At this time, they knew the magic was not real. If magic was real, they would have defended themselves. If a magician is being sent into a jail, and it happens in our time as well, so-called magicians, if they are guilty of a crime, the law enforcement catches them and throws them into the prison. If their magic was real, don't you think they would use their magic to save themselves? If their magic was real, don't you think they would make themselves the wealthiest people of the world? But the magic is not real. So the magic doesn't save people, because it's magic, it's fake. So these magicians knew very well that the magic that they were performing before in order to compete with Musa alayhi salam, that all magic that they were known for was all fake. There was nothing real in that magic. So when Fir'aun vowed to punish them, they did not say that we will use our magic to throw you into hell and to run away from your punishment. All they said, وَمَا تَنْقِمُ مِنَّا إِلَّا أَنْ آمَنَّا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّنَا لَمَّا جَاءَتْنَا رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَتَوَفَّنَا مُسْلِمِينَ. They turned to Allah and they said to Fir'aun, O Pharaoh, you're only taking revenge from us because we have believed in our Lord after the clear signs have been brought to us. So you're taking revenge only because we have believed in the Lord of the worlds. And then they turn to Allah saying, O Allah, O our Lord, pour upon us patience and let us die as Muslims. وَتَوَفَّنَا مُسْلِمِينَ. And they did. Now, according to some reports, Fir'aun did kill all of them, crucified all of them. And there are some reports that also suggest that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow Fir'aun to punish these people, but those reports are not really authentic. The authentic reports do say that Fir'aun did crucify them, did kill all of them. But he was unable to kill Musa alayhi salam because Musa alayhi salam was under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After all this happened, when people saw with their open eyes that Musa alayhi salam alone defeated all these thousands of magicians, they realized that what Musa alayhi salam was doing was true, and what he's saying is truth, is right, and therefore we should follow him. Therefore, afterwards, almost all the people of Banu Israel, nearly 600,000 of them, they started following Musa alayhi salam. And even from the people of Fir'aun, there were those who were guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they did follow Musa alayhi salam afterwards. Because they clearly saw the truth and falsehood. They clearly saw the contest between haqq and batil. And the triumphant was the haqq, the truth, not the falsehood. So when this happened, the advisors of Fir'aun, the chiefs of tribes of Fir'aun, they all said to Fir'aun, and these are the ayat that talk about that. وَقَالَ الْمَلَأُ مِنْ قَوْمِ فِرْعَوْنَ, and the leaders from the people of Fir'aun said to Fir'aun, أَتَذَرُ مُوسَى وَقَوْمَهُ, are you going to leave alone Musa and his people? لِيُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, so they may cause corruption in the land. وَيَذَرَكَ وَآلِهَتَكَ, while they abandon you and your gods. So they attributed corruption to Musa alayhi salam and his people, while in reality the corruption was being caused by Fir'aun and his people. Musa alayhi salam was the one who was fixing things. But this is always the case. The people who are trying to do the right thing, they're always labeled as the wrongdoers, as the corrupt ones, and the corrupt ones label themselves as the right ones, as the ones who fix things. This has always been the case in the world stage. So the people of Fir'aun said about Musa alayhi salam and his people to Fir'aun, are you going to leave Musa and his people alone so they can cause more damage and more corruption? Because if they continue, then Musa will continue to win the hearts and minds of people, and more people will follow him. And if more and more people follow him, they will abandon you and they will abandon your gods. Now we know about Fir'aun, who has said, whose statement is mentioned in Quran, who said, "Ana rabbukumul a'la," I am your highest Lord. So if he considered himself the Lord or the master, then what are these people talking about, the masters of the gods of Pharaoh? What gods are they talking about? This ayah proves that Fir'aun himself believed in some gods as well. Some say he used to worship stars. Some say he used to worship a cow. And some say he used to worship the sun or other celestial objects. But he did believe in gods. And there's also another report that suggests that deep down in his heart, he did believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. But his arrogance and his rebellion did not allow him to surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surrender to the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surrender to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the people of Fir'aun, they said to him that if you let Musa and his people do what they want to do, then they will desert you and desert your gods. They don't believe in your gods. They believe in Allah. Musa alayhi salam believed in Allah. قَالَ سَنُقَتِّلُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَنَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ. Fir'aun, in his confidence, he said, we shall kill their boys. We shall kill their male children. And we shall let their girls live. And that's what he was doing even before Musa alayhi salam was born. Even before Musa alayhi salam was born, the father, who was the Fir'aun at that time, what he did in order to save his throne and his power, he was told by a palm reader, by a soothsayer, that a child who will be born in Banu Israel, he will destroy his kingdom. So the elder Fir'aun, who was in power at that time, he ordered that all the boys that are born in Bani Israel, they should be killed. right after their birth, and the girls should be allowed to live. So they went back on this in the time of this Fir'aun as well. So this is now happening in this son Fir'aun, who's now doing the same thing what his father did when Musa was not even born. And now this Fir'aun is doing the same thing. He said, سَنُقَتِّلُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَنَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ. We shall kill their boys and we will keep their girls alive. Because they did not fear from girls. وَإِنَّا فَوْقَهُمْ قَاهِرُونَ. And he said, we do indeed have irresistible power over these people. He said about himself and about his power, that the power and might that we have is irresistible and it cannot be challenged. They will not be able to stand against us. So he assured his advisors that don't worry, this is not really a huge challenge for us. We have strategy to deal with this challenge. Now, when these reports reached the people of Musa alayhi salam, Banu Israel, they all became scared. They learned once again that this Fir'aun is also now going to kill the boys and allow the girls to live. So they came to Musa alayhi salam, crying to Musa alayhi salam, and expressing their fear, expressing all the dangers that they were facing, all the threats that they were facing, the existential threats, survival threats. So Musa alayhi salam said to them, قال موسى لقومه, Musa said to his people, استعينوا بالله, seek help from Allah. Stay strong and seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. wasbiru, and stay strong, stay steadfast and be patient. We may not have the solution today, but the solution and the answer is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to remain strong and patient. Innal arda lillah. Then he assured his people by saying, the land belongs to Allah. Who's Fir'aun? And who are his people? You can say that about any oppressor, about any tyrant. Innal arda lillah. The land belongs to Allah alone. So whoever is the oppressor today will not be there tomorrow. Just like Fir'aun. He never thought about himself that he will be gone tomorrow. The day Musa alayhi salam uttered these words, Fir'aun never even dreamed of being destroyed and being wiped off the surface of this earth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a plan. So Musa alayhi salam assured his people by saying, the earth, the land belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That includes the land of Egypt. The land of Egypt also belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't worry. يُورِثُهَا مَنْ يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala causes this land to be inherited by whoever from his people that he wills. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants a particular person to be the ruler, then that person is the ruler. And if that is not worthy, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaces it with someone else. So the succession has always been continuing. From one generation to another generation. From one power to another power. From one family to another family. From one dynasty to another dynasty. That succession has always been continuing. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. But the best end is of the righteous ones. At the end, the ultimate outcome is for the good people, the pious people. So, in other words, Musa a.s. is teaching his people to stick to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stick to righteousness and piety, and place their trust in Allah, because at the end, they will be the triumphants. قَالُوا أُوذِينَا مِن قَبْلِ أَن تَأْتِينَا وَمِن بَعْدِ مَا جِئْتَنَا. The people of Musa a.s. said to him, O Musa, we were made to suffer before you came, and we are suffering even after you have come. Their suffering began, their suffering in the general sense was going on since the time Pharaoh turned them into slaves. But their real painful suffering, where their children were being killed and they were really being oppressed, that started a short while before the birth of Musa alayhi salam, a few years before the birth of Musa alayhi salam. So they said to Musa alayhi salam, "O Musa, we were hurting even before you were born, and we're hurting even now." So in other words, they're slightly complaining to Musa alayhi salam that, "Oh Musa, you have brought no relief for us. We thought you were the one who would bring relief for us. But we were hurting before you came, and we are hurting even after you have come." So Musa alayhi salam said to them, قَالَ عَسَى رَبُّكُمْ أَن يُهْلِكَ عَدُوَّكُمْ. Perhaps your Lord will destroy your enemy. وَيَسْتَخْلِفَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And He will cause you to succeed in earth. He will make you the successors on earth. فَيَنْظُرَ كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ. Then He will see what you do in the same position. This is really powerful message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a powerful reminder for everyone. Before you go into power, you have your slogans, you have your rants, you have your rhetoric that if I become the president, I will do this. If I become the prime minister, I will do this. I will do this reform. I will do this reform. I will do this. I will do that. And when Allah gives you that power, then all of that is thrown behind the back. Then all of that is considered campaign rhetoric. All of that is gone out the door. Allah reminds us, فَيَنْظُرَ كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ. Be careful. When Allah gives you the power, Allah is watching. Allah is seeing how you handle the same power that those before you had. You're complaining about Fir'aun, that Fir'aun had this power and he did this, he did this, he did that. Imagine if Allah gave you that same power. How would you handle that? So Musa alayhi salam reminded his people that soon Allah will give you power. And it did happen. Not too long after Musa alayhi salam, Banu Israel came in power. And they ruled the world for thousands of years. Under the leadership of prophets and under the leadership of their other leaders. They ruled Jerusalem, they ruled Palestine, they ruled the Holy Land, they even ruled Egypt. So Musa alayhi salam reminded them in the beginning, when they had no power, that soon Allah will give you power, and then He will see how you handle that power. How you manage that power. فَيَنْظُرَ كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ وَلَقَدْ أَخَذْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ بِالسِّنِينَ. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, we punished the people of Fir'aun with years of drought, years of famine, وَنَقْسٍ مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and the shortness of fruits, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ, so they might get a reminder. They may learn the lesson that this is happening for a reason. So most of us have this image in our mind that soon after the contest between Musa alayhi salam and Pharaoh happened, shortly after that, Musa alayhi salam left with his people. They crossed the ocean and they went on the other side, and Pharaoh came after them, chasing them, and he got drowned. That's not reality. They stayed inside Egypt for many years. All of these things that are coming, that will be mentioned now, they happen after this contest. So for years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the people of Fir'aun suffer with famine. And it is mentioned that in those years of famine, they would not get any rain from above, and whatever food, whatever grain they had all dried or got soiled, and their cattle were dying because the cattle was not getting grass, they was not getting water. The river Nile became dry. So they suffered for years from that famine and from that drought. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed we punished the people of Fir'aun with years of suffering, with years of drought and famine. وَنَقْسٍ مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and the shortness of fruits. Their fruits were all either destroyed by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they were in very short quantity. So if they were getting 100 apples before, now they're only getting 4 apples or 5 apples. So there was a huge shortness of fruits. فَإِذَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْحَسَنَةُ قَالُوا لَنَا هَذِهِ. But there were times when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give them temporary relief in order to make them realize all this is happening for a reason. So they would understand the lesson. So فَإِذَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْحَسَنَةُ قَالُوا لَنَا هَذِهِ. Whenever the good thing comes to them, they would say, we deserve it and it is ours. We have the right to it. وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ سَيِّئَةً. And if something bad would happen to them, يَطَّيَّرُوا بِمُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ. They would attribute it as an ill omen, evil omen to Musa alayhi salam and to the people of Musa alayhi salam. So they would say, this is happening to us because of Musa and his people. All this drought, all this famine, all these bad things are happening to us because of Musa alayhi salam. Allah said, أَلَا إِنَّمَا طَائِرُهُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Be informed, their evil omens are with them in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most of them do not know. وَقَالُوا مَهْمَا تَأْتِنَا بِهِ مِنْ آيَةٍ لِتَسْحَرَنَا بِهَا فَمَا نَحْنُ لَكَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And they said, no matter what sign you bring to us, with which you try to put magic on us. So they, in the beginning, they called Musa alayhi salam the magician. So they said, whatever sign you may bring to us, whatever trick you may play on us, whatever magic you may perform on us, مَا نَحْنُ لَكَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. We're not going to believe in you. We will remain on the path that we are on. We will never believe in you. We will never submit to you. So they said clearly to Musa alayhi salam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them severely with many other forms of punishment. For example, in this ayah number 133, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ الطُّوفَانِ. And we sent upon them floods, storms, وَالْجَرَادِ, and locusts, وَالْقُمَّلِ, and lice, وَالضَّفَادِعِ, and frogs, وَالدَّمِ, and blood, آيَاتٍ مُفَصَّلَاتٍ. These were distinct signs, clear signs. فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا. As a result of these signs, they became even more arrogant. وَكَانُوا قَوْمًا مُجْرِمِينَ. And they were criminal people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these signs, some say in succession. First the flood came, the storm came, and then the locust came, and then the lice came, and then the frog came, and then the blood. And some say there were break periods. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these signs, with breaks in between, in order to make them realize that the path that they are on is a wrong one. And they should learn the lesson and surrender and submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they did not learn their lesson. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. I will share a few details of these different forms of adab suffered by the Fir'aun and his people in next week, inshallah. Any questions? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا، وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن يميننا وعن شمالنا ومن فوقنا، وأن نغتال من تحتنا. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا ونبيا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاكم الله.